Hey, what's up? My name is John Bonjour. I'm a comic artist and film enthusiast. I have drawn some art, finally, and I would love to enthuse about some film. Today we are talking about Daredevil Born Again Season 1. Alright, so it is officially over. This is just going to be a full spoiler video, as have all my other ones. Real quick, I just want to say a few things about the final episode, and then I'm going to talk about the series as a whole. That was a hell of an episode. that was a real crazy one. I don't think episode 9 is the strongest episode in terms of just structure and storytelling. I do think it's probably the most entertaining, largely due to just the presence of the Punisher. I think that it's just what a win. What a win for the world. What a win for the show. It's so much fun. It's also shockingly violent. I know it's the Punisher and we shouldn't be surprised that he's violent, but also just the episode as a whole was really gross. I'm here for that. I'm all for that. I think it's great. This feels like it's been building to this big explosion. This is the explosion that we've all been building to. And by explosion, I mean Wilson Fisk just crushing a guy's head like he's Khan, which is cool. That's really cool. I mean, not cool. Obviously, in the real world, that would be bad. But in a movie, that's pretty cool. But overall, this was just a really great episode. It was so much fun. We got some Daredevil. I do think it's just a little bit odd. There are things that I don't completely love about this episode. There's things about the show that I think is a little rough, a little choppy. And I think that this is probably another version of that choppiness. This feels very different from anything else in the show. This episode feels like a fundamentally different show. Maybe it feels like the first episode a little bit, but it really does feel like a completely different show. And I'm not sure how I feel about that. I think it's good. I do think this is what we were building toward. I wasn't expecting us to shut down the city and do martial law, but it does kind of feel like something. It doesn't feel out of place in that sense, but the tone and feel and pace of the episode are just so different from anything else we've seen from this show that it feels choppy. It feels like it's a different show. I'm torn because I really liked what we got. I think what we got, and I'll talk later about the season as a whole, but what we got in this episode is really, really good. And also, I feel a little bit strange about it because this season is supposed to be the first half of a story. It is the first half of a story, and in that sense, it feels like the first half of a story. What happened in this episode feels like it would be the mid-season twist. What happened in this episode feels like it would be the mid-season shift, and then the other back half of the season would be dealing with the ramifications of that, which is all well and good, and when season 2 has come out, I'm sure it'll play a lot better. But in this exact moment, it feels like we spent a lot of time getting to the shift, and then this episode was anyway, the shift happened, here it is, and now we have to wait a year. I don't want to be too negative about it, because I think overall, and I guess I'll start talking about the season as a whole. Overall, I think this show is very, very good. I think it's interesting as a character piece. I think it's a great law drama when it chooses to be. I think the action is solid. It's a lot of fun. It's a hell of a show to watch. It really is. I think it is a good direction to be taking Daredevil, heightening it a little bit, making it about more than just crime syndicates, loving Mayor Kingpin. I think that's a wonderful take. That's an interesting direction just for all of our characters and for the show. I want to be clear. This season absolutely was net positive to a degree that's almost hilarious. I loved this season of Daredevil. I love what they're doing with Born Again, with this show, with bringing him into the MCU proper. All of that is very, very, very good. Additionally, it's very choppy, and it feels like every episode was kind of assessing from that episode's perspective whether or not I liked it, which is true of all shows, but take Reacher, for example. Season 3 of Reacher just came out. It's a blast if you like that kind of thing, which I do. But each episode of that show felt like the same as the last episode. Not in a homogenous bad way. In a way that it was consistent. It was clear what they were going for. It felt natural episode to episode. It didn't feel weird or cut together or oddly paced or edited. It was just a show that wanted to tell a story, and it told the story. And I understand that Daredevil is the victim of a lot of other studio things that were happening at the time, and we're coming out of that kind of phase of Marvel where they decided they were just gonna chop and screw everything together. I fully get that. I respect it. I understand that that's where we are. I'm also really kind of tired of having to be yeah, I really liked it. little choppy, kind of weird, but I really liked it. Like, I hate that I feel that way about the new Captain America. I hate that I feel that way about the Marvels, Ant-Man, this. It's frustrating to be in a place where I love so much of what they're doing and also so clearly see what they shouldn't be doing. Like, the mistakes that they're making, the mistrust that they have in their own creators, the weird notes that they've been given. And that's the thing to me, is it just feels like they haven't thought about it. So they shot almost all of, if not all of, an entire season of an 18 episode season of a show, and then started watching it and went, oh yeah, I guess this doesn't work. I don't know. I guess we'll try something else. It's like, how was that not the first thing you thought you should do? It's frustrating to be in this place where I know that they have the resources to make something amazing. I know that they have the storytellers, the creative people, the technical people, the actors. I know that they have everything to make something brilliant, and they just keep actively choosing to kind of not do it. That being said, all of the pressure of that shouldn't belong to Daredevil. And so I need to kind of disassociate myself from that. I need to remind myself, and I think also some of the people on the internet, that Daredevil is not the one to take the brunt for all of those things. Yes, it is frustrating that Captain America felt the way that it did. It is frustrating that Daredevil sometimes feels the way that it does. But for that, for feeling that, acknowledging that, not just letting that go, but acknowledging it, I think Daredevil is pretty fucking brilliant. I think it's spectacular what they were able to accomplish in this last minute pivot in a way that doesn't feel as choppy as it should. This doesn't feel Captain America-y. I hate to keep throwing that under the bus. I really did like that movie. It just is the prime example of a thing that was kind of cut together and feels like 3 or 4 different things. It doesn't feel Madam Webby. How's that? That's a safe one to make fun of. It doesn't feel like Madam Web in the sense that it doesn't feel like it was something completely different and now it is this thing. It feels like they took what was good from the original version of the show and just worked with that, worked around that to make something really good. So at the end of the day, this is a very good season of television. I'm a little bit bummed that it feels like a part 1. It ends on this place that I really don't want to wait an entire year for more Daredevil, for more of this story. But I'm also willing to, because it really was good enough, and when that season 2 comes, I'm gonna be pretty hyped about it. Like, I'm very excited to see what they do. I think the character building was really brilliant. I love that they have shifted Matt Murdock without making him a completely different character. I love that they've shifted Wilson and Vanessa Fisk without making them different characters. Also, Punisher. What a consistent little guy. Jon Bernthal is brilliant as Punisher, and he continues to be brilliant as Punisher. One last thought on this episode. There's this weird discussion going around right now about whether or not cameos are a good thing. And I think it's mostly dumb, to be entirely honest with you. I think the assessment of current and recent MCU projects as cameo fests and things that rely exclusively on that, I don't think that's fair. I think there's a lot more going on. Yes, Deadpool and Wolverine has a lot of cameos. Yes, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness does not use those cameos for a whole lot, but they have quite a few of them. I agree with that, and I agree that there are probably better ways to use these characters, stronger ways to use cameos. It doesn't have to be just jangling keys. I also don't think it is exclusively that, and I don't think it has been exclusively that. But I also don't think it needs to happen. Not every show, not every movie, not everything has to have a big cameo that we're all completely blown away by. That said, there was a moment in Daredevil Born Again at the end of this episode where he's having this whole speech about how we need to raise an army, we need to get everybody together. And I don't know if it's me, I don't know if it's the internet, I don't know if it's a fair expectation to have. But there was a big part of me that really thought we were gonna see somebody that mattered in that room. That sounds mean. I thought we were gonna see somebody that we already knew that was a superhero. Like, the whole thing is that Wilson Fisk is making this army of anti-vigilante cops. He's creating this war on vigilantes. There was just a small part of me that kind of thought maybe we would have at least one other vigilante in that room at Josie's bar. I don't know. Maybe I'm stupid for thinking that. But it really felt like I thought we were building. He opens the doors super dramatically. I thought we were building to, like, the Defenders or Spider-Man or somebody being there that would mean something beyond just like, oh, I remember her from the bank episode. That was fun. I wish that moment had a little bit more punch. I don't know. And I understand that, like, you probably couldn't get Spider-Man, or maybe you shouldn't. Like, is that what we really want to use one of his appearances on? Is like 12 seconds of a cameo in a Daredevil show? Yes. I mean, for me, yes. Selfishly, yes. But no, I mean, I see the argument for it. And maybe he even couldn't. There was some articles going around that maybe you're not allowed to have Spider-Man. I don't understand the rights. I'm not a lawyer. Point being, I kind of thought we were building to something there, and it was a little bit of a bummer that we weren't. I also am like, it doesn't really matter. But it is this thing where if the second season of the show, which is going to be hypothetically all about this big war on vigilantes, if the only two vigilantes in the show are Daredevil and Punisher, what are we doing? You know? Because you do have others. You've got Hawkeye, you've got Lil Hawkeye, you've got the Swordsman, you've got Kamala Khan. Probably she won't be, I don't know that she would really fit in this, but you do have Spider-Man. You have Moon Knight if we want to show up with him. You've got vigilantes running around New York. Speaking of which, this is just gonna be, I don't know, this is getting out of hand. Thunderbolts is coming up, and we have already seen from the trailers that some of the Thunderbolts is gonna be taking place in New York. It looks like, and I can't really confirm or deny because I haven't seen the actual movie, but it looks like kind of the third act of the movie is gonna be taking place in New York, a la Avengers, which, like, are we going to talk about that? Is there going to be is Bucky being a senator or a congressman or whatever he is because he's trying to fight against this vigilantism thing? Is this going to be affected by Daredevil? Does this take place after Daredevil, in the middle? Are we in the middle of the war? Like, I don't think it's going to be as connected as I want it to be. And I need to acknowledge that now because I can't be bummed out by that when it happens in Thunderbolts. But right after Daredevil, having Thunderbolts be the next thing really feels like we should talk about it. It just feels like it should be addressed on some level. Probably it won't be, but a guy can dream. So those are my thoughts on Daredevil Born Again. I do think it's a very solid show. I loved what we got. I think it's brilliant. It's really, really good, albeit a little choppy. I'm hoping they can smooth out some of the rough edges for season 2. I assume that they probably will. I think they've got more time. They have more capabilities of making something. I don't know that they had shot the entirety of the show for whatever it was going to be before. So I hope that the next season is smoother and a little bit more streamlined. It seems like Marvel is learning that they need to have a story and a showrunner and people who are in charge. I really hope that that's true. Creative people, by the way, who are in charge. I really hope that that's true. I did love what we got from Daredevil, though. I'm not disappointed. I'm not bummed out. I think it was a phenomenally fun season, and I cannot wait for more. What did you think? Let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching this video and checking out my channel. If you'd like to hear more of my thoughts on movies, comics, TV shows, there's just general cameo thoughts, hit the like button, hit the subscribe, and comment down below what you'd like me to review next, or do none of that because I am not your dad.